A soft chime echoed through the cabin, but no one heard it over the sharp voice of the flight attendant snapping, "Ma'am, I need you to return to economy. First class is for premium passengers only." Passengers glanced up, annoyed at the disturbance, except one woman who stood frozen, her jaw tightening as though she'd heard this tone too many times before. Her name was Harper Lane, and in less than a minute, everyone on that plane would learn why forcing her out of that seat was the biggest mistake of the day. If you love stories that hit fast, hit deep, and hit unexpected, don't forget to subscribe because I've got plenty more coming your way. Harper hadn't asked for special treatment. She'd boarded early because of a knee injury the airline had agreed to accommodate. The gate agent had personally escorted her to the last open seat in first class, apologizing for the turbulence delays and the chaos of the airport. Harper had simply nodded, lifted her duffel bag with practiced ease, and settled in quietly. But the moment the new shift of flight attendants arrived, everything flipped. "This seat is assigned," the attendant insisted again, her tone sharp enough to cut steel. "I don't know what the gate agent told you, but you can't just take any seat you want." Harper tried to stay calm. "Ma'am, I didn't choose it. They put me here because—" The attendant raised a hand like she was stopping a child. "I don't want excuses. Stand up, gather your belongings, and move. Now." Passengers weren't just watching, they were judging. Some rolled their eyes. One man muttered, "People will do anything for a free upgrade." No one knew who they were talking to. No one knew what she'd done. No one knew the weight she carried. Harper inhaled slowly, trying to control the familiar burn of humiliation. She'd promised herself she wouldn't draw attention anymore. She'd left that life behind, or at least tried to. But when she stood, the edge of her shirt lifted just enough to expose part of an old, inked emblem on her back, one she usually kept hidden. A black trident with a smirking skull and a coiled serpent, the unofficial insignia of a Navy SEAL team that didn't appear on any recruitment posters. She tugged her shirt back down immediately, but it was too late. A voice from the open cockpit doorway choked mid-sentence. "Excuse me, ma'am. Wait." The pilot, Captain Roland Hayes, stepped into the cabin with a look of disbelief. He wasn't looking at her face, he was looking at where the tattoo had flashed. His hand trembled on the bulkhead. "Lane," he whispered as though saying her name pulled him backwards through years of buried memories. "Harper Lane?" The flight attendant stiffened, confused. "Captain? Is there a problem?" But he didn't answer her. He walked straight toward Harper, every passenger holding their breath as the tension flipped in an instant. "Ma'am," he said gently, "you stay exactly where you are. This seat is yours, and anyone who says otherwise can speak to me." The attendant's face went pale. "Captain, I didn't know." "You didn't ask," he replied, not cruel but cold. Passengers were watching with wide eyes now, sensing they'd misjudged her. But none of them knew the real story. Not yet. Harper kept her voice low. "Captain Hayes, you remember me?" He swallowed hard. "I couldn't forget you if I tried." The attendant backed away silently, and Harper slowly sank back into her seat, but her mind wasn't settling. She hadn't expected anyone from her past to recognize her. Not after she'd walked away from the teams, from the missions, from the guilt. Because Captain Hayes wasn't just a pilot. Years ago, he'd been a Navy aviation officer, one who'd flown emergency extraction for her unit deep in hostile territory. She hadn't seen him since the night everything went wrong. The cabin air felt heavier. Harper stared forward, trying not to think about dust storms, black smoke, and the sound of a friend's last breath. She wasn't here to relive any of that. She just wanted to go home. A few minutes later, the captain returned, but this time he crouched beside her seat so no one else could hear. "I heard what happened to your team," he said quietly. I'm sorry. They were good people." Harper nodded once, eyes burning. "That's why I left. Too many ghosts. You saved all of our lives that day, he said, including mine. She didn't reply. Compliments were heavier than accusations. But then the aircraft shuddered violently. A pocket of turbulence slammed the cabin, and several passengers screamed. The plane dipped hard. Oxygen masks rattled. The flight attendants grabbed for support. But Harper didn't flinch. Instinct replaced fear. Her mind sharpened instantly. The intercom crackled, and the CO pilot's voice sounded shaken. "Ladies and gentlemen, please stay seated. We're experiencing unexpected mechanical turbulence." Mechanical, not weather. That meant something was wrong. Hayes rushed back into the cockpit, leaving the door half open long enough for Harper to hear one chilling phrase: hydraulic pressures dropping. The cabin filled with murmurs and cries. One teenager prayed out loud. A mother clutched her toddler, and Harper felt something she hadn't felt in years: purpose. Without hesitation, she stood and calmly approached the cockpit. The same flight attendant who'd tried to force her out earlier looked terrified now. Where are you going? Please sit down." Harper gave her a steady look, not angry, just resolute. "He needs me." And for once, the attendant didn't stop her. Harper leaned into the cockpit. "Captain, talk to me." Hayes exhaled sharply when he saw her. "Lane, of all days, yeah, we could use your eyes." Within seconds, she was beside him, analyzing gauges, listening to the engine's pitch, assessing vibration. It wasn't the first time she'd helped a pilot limp a dying bird home. "Reduce thrust on 2, she said, calm as still water. "Done." "Reroute auxiliary power." "On it." Hayes glanced at her. "Still got it, Lane. I never lost it." The aircraft slowly leveled, the shaking eased, and the panic in the cabin softened to sniffles and whispers of relief. 10 minutes later, they touched down safely, smooth, controlled, almost graceful. Passengers broke into applause, unaware that the woman they judged had helped save them. The captain walked her off the plane himself. "Harper, if you ever want to come back, even teach or consult." She shook her head softly. "Thank you. But I'm finally learning how to live without always being in a fight." Hayes smiled with respect, not pity. "Then at least let me say this. Today you reminded me why the world is safer, because you exist." She looked away, embarrassed. "Take care of yourself, Captain." "You too, Lane." Harper stepped into the terminal with quiet dignity. No applause for her. No medals, just a calm breath and the knowledge that walking away from a life doesn't mean losing who you are. She adjusted her bag, pulled her hoodie over the tattoo, and disappeared into the crowd. And the people who had judged her, they would never forget the woman they'd forced out of first class, the one who turned out to be the reason they made it home. Now I want to know, from which part of the country are you watching this video?